to Women Wednesdays with me, Pam, your host today. So today I'm excited. We have a special guest, Karen Dillon, and she is our local LA County broker, multifamily broker. But interesting fact, she used to have a different background, and I'm excited to bring her here to talk to everyone about that and how she got to her successful platform today. So welcome, Karen. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Pam.
Thanks. Let's jump into it. So if you're just getting started into the commercial real estate industry or just in any sort of industry on your own, where do you recommend people start?
So for commercial real estate, like I'm a commercial real estate broker and I do multifamily. So if you're interested in having a career as a commercial real estate broker, I would say the first place to start is reach out to your network, your family, your friends, your colleagues, associates, people who might themselves be in commercial real estate or know somebody who is. We often don't realize how many people own commercial real estate investments, and they all have an agent that they've worked with, or they all have a team of people that have helped them get to where they are. And so I would really urge anyone who's interested in learning about the field to first connect with somebody who's working in the field, so you can kind of learn what it's really about, the day-to-day, and all of that good stuff.
Oh, that's a great tip there. So I'm going to go off the general script that I usually have is, so what do you recommend? Like when you say connecting with friends or family members and acquaintances to just kind of get to know the field a little bit, do you recommend asking them out to coffee or lunch? What are some ways that you would recommend?
Yeah, so approach it like an informational interview, right? Be really curious and appreciative and say, I'm interested in getting into this field. I'd love to pick your brain. Let me take you out to lunch or coffee so that we can talk about it. And I find that generally people are open to that. People generally like to help other people, especially younger people who are starting out. And most people will be receptive to that kind of a thing. And people love to talk about themselves and their experience and how they got to where they are. So it's a great opportunity to connect with somebody who's in a field that you want to go into.
Oh, yes, exactly. And so let's take a step back even further. When did you decide you wanted to go into the commercial real estate industry? Because it's not one of the common traditional paths in general, but it's definitely a wonderful industry to jump into. So when did you decide to do that? And how did you decide to go about it?
Yeah, so for me, it was about 5 years ago. In my prior life, as I like to call it, I was an attorney and I was a litigator. And I really enjoyed the work. It was, very intellectually stimulating. But being a litigator doesn't really let you have much of a work-life balance at all. It kind of requires all of you, and that doesn't leave much for your personal life. So at the time, my husband was already doing commercial real estate brokerage. So there's my connection, right, of knowing somebody who happened to be doing it. And I kind of knew about commercial real estate just by being in proximity to him, hearing him talk about his work, and then sometimes even just helping him out with things. And so when I kind of started getting burned out by the law and litigation, it seemed like, well, here's something different that I can try that I know will allow me to be more in control of my schedule. That was really my main issue with litigation, is lack of control over my schedule. So, about 5 years ago is when I decided to kind of transition into real estate. And I did it slowly. I continued to do a little bit of law. I didn't completely jump ship. I wanted to test it out first. And I did. And I found that it worked well for me. And so then I, completely stopped practicing law, and now I do brokerage 100%.
That is such a wonderful success story for those who are wondering. Even for me, when I first started, I thought like, oh, I was stuck in this field forever. But this is a testament right here that you're letting us know that it's okay to kind of change paths, even if you might not know what it's like.
Right.
Kind of take small steps towards it. And so I'm assuming your biggest why, like your big picture of why you decided to switch over, was to have that flexibility, have more time with your family and your kids. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So it's almost like a night and day difference when it comes to that part of work-life balance. Because in commercial real estate, you build your own schedule, and you can fit in the little things like doctor's appointments, or if your child is sick and you need to stay home, most things can be rearranged, which is why I really love this field. And also, there's kind of an unlimited growth potential. There's no cap on how well you can do. It's really about how you approach it and what you put into it. So to me right now, in my experience, it's giving me the best of both worlds, where I have my family time, but I also have a career that I'm proud of.
Oh, that's beautiful to hear. And I think you touched on something so wonderful here. It's that there's no cap to your salary or your commissions, or the kind of like the world is your oyster. So this is great to hear that. Now, I love reading, and so this is kind of a common question I love asking my guests is, what are some top books that you recommend people read if they want to get into your area, if they want to be a very successful multifamily broker?
So for this one, my book is not like directly for somebody who's trying to get in, but I think I found it to be really useful. So first, if you do want to learn more about multifamily, there are so many resources. One, of course, is your website, right? Let's Go Create Wealth. You can get a lot of information there. And so that's fairly easy if you just kind of do a Google search on it, and you'll have so many options. But one book that I really enjoyed was The One Thing by Gary Keller. And it's really helpful for you once you decide, you're going to do this. It's helpful to you in terms of getting started off, because it tells you how important it is to figure out what is the one thing that you want to do and to focus on that. Basically become like a specialist in that. So like for me, I'm a commercial broker, but I really only work with multifamily properties. I'm not working in all the array of commercial properties. I'll refer that out to other agents. So I found that book to be really useful in just kind of honing in on what you want to do. And when you're a specialist in something, it helps you to stand out and be successful.
I agree. It's important to have your niche and really specialize and focus on that. So with that being said, I know that usually in commercial real estate, a lot of basically your net worth is built on your network, right? Your quality of the connection. So what are some strategies that you have for those looking to grow in their network? And I can only imagine when I was younger, or just out of college or starting off in my professional career, I was so scared of talking to people, but that's my personality. But if there's any tips that you can provide for those to grow their network with ease, but with quality, I'm all ears.
Yeah. Networking is not fun or easy, right? But you can make it that way by finding groups that fit your personality and your interests. So one great organization that I joined recently is CREW, Commercial Real Estate Women, and it's nationwide, and there are women in that organization who do all kinds of things across commercial real estate, and they're all very supportive. So before I knew about that organization, I was really having difficulty kind of finding mentorship, especially being a woman in commercial real estate. There are not very many of us. So this organization has been a great doorway for me to connect with other women. And again, that's thanks to you, Pam, right? Because you brought me into that group. Yes. So thank you for that. So that's a great organization. If you're really like, let's say out of college or at the beginning, there are also these groups called Phoebe, for investors by investors, and it's on meetup.com. So wherever you are geographically, you can find a group that's close to you and check it out. And it's usually, groups of investors. There's usually a presentation, and it's a great way for you to meet people who are interested in what you're interested in, and also to gain some knowledge. And then another great way, which is this kind of like a added benefit, is just get involved in your community, volunteer. You never know if you're going to be working on a project or something, and then somebody else who's there could be a great mentor for you for your career down the road.
Oh, that's a great tip right there. And would you say that you found success in both the in-person networking and also the virtual networking arena? I know a lot of people are tired of it, but I feel like you wouldn't be able to connect with people across like globally, right, if we didn't have that option. So what are your thoughts and takes on that?
Yes, I'm totally fine with virtual networking, because for that reason that you said, it allows you to connect with people that you would not be able to connect with otherwise, just because of the limits of travel. So I know I've connected with people in Crew who are out of state. And, you know, from time to time, I have a need for that. I need to send out referrals out of state. And it would have just been harder to do that in a pre-Zoom era. So I'm all down for reach out to people who you wouldn't be able to connect with otherwise virtually. Even though I know we are kind of tired of Zoom, it's still, you can still use it to your advantage.
I love that. That's right. And I love that you joined Crew Network. I have a passion for it, as you've known. And so I'm happy to hear that you're happy with the network. But, you know, for those out there who really, you know, find what Karen is trying to say is find your support network that works best for you. And don't be afraid to just keep looking around until you find your tribe.
Right.
So, and we're here to support you with that. So now let's kind of talk about something else. What is like one of the biggest challenges you faced when you were jumping into the industry? Or maybe you're facing that now, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Throwing it out there.
I think for me, the biggest challenge when I jumped in was real estate was completely different from the practice of law. And so, you know, I had been going one way and suddenly I was going a different way, you know, and that can take time to get used to, you know, like some common examples are when you're an attorney, people are seeking you out for advice and they're coming to you. And I wasn't responsible for business development. I just had to do my job as an associate. And with real estate, you really need to go out there and you need to hustle and you need to find your clients and prove that the service you're providing is worth it. So it's kind of like a complete 180 in that respect. But once you realize, you know, this is how it works and you get into it, you know, then it's smooth sailing from there. But especially if you're transitioning from a different career, it can be tricky because it is different. And then, so that would be a challenge, I would say, if you're like getting into real estate. And then also I kind of had a hard time finding mentors early on. I know you mentioned this. So and again, it was because I wasn't a member of any organizations, right? I was just like trying to do it on my own. And so that's kind of something that I wish I could go back in time and tell myself, like, you're not alone and there are people out there who can help and guide you. I just didn't know about it and it took time for me to figure that out.
Me too. And I'm glad we're talking about that today of just, you are not alone. Don't be afraid to step out. Chances are, if you're questioning certain things, there are other people who might be going through the same challenges as well, which is kind of what sparked what I like doing here, is interviewing successful women in all walks of life, because we all kind of came to it differently. And it's such a beautiful story. I love hearing backgrounds and challenges that you've shared. And I know that's hard. And for me, like one of the biggest challenges was realizing that, hey, this is a team sport. Basically, you have to learn to play well with others. And that's how you kind of grow almost exponentially and be friendly with one another and help one another, lift one another up. And I think you do that and you embody that, which I love seeing and observing how you work. So for the younger women and men looking to get into commercial real estate, as a kind of a recap here, what are the few words that you can offer them?
So if you're trying to get into the industry, I would say, and like this is kind of what I did, is get out there and educate yourself on it in whatever manner, you know, suits you best, whether that is reading books, listening to podcasts, like watching stuff like this on YouTube. Just get educated and get different points of view on the career. And then again, grow your professional network, reach out to people in your circle who might be able to help you. And then also you need to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, which is what I had to do. And like one great example for me for that is, you know, I knew I wanted to do some sort of like an educational podcast series on multifamily investing, but it was so hard to take that step to do it, to get the guest, do the recording and put myself out there and post it. And it took me a long time to get the courage to do it. But when I finally did it, I was like, this is great. Why didn't I do this before? But I had to push myself out of my comfort zone and try something new to help my career.
Oh yes, that's so true. And I love your show. So what is your show called for those who may want to go Google and listen to your show?
Yeah, thanks. So it's called Simply Multifamily. If you go to my website, which is www.sigcommercial.com, and go to the blog section, you'll see the ones that I've done before. And Pam has been a guest talking about syndication. So that was a great episode.
That was
And
so
it's,
fun. Thank you for
yeah,
making
of
it so
course.
fun.
And so I try to just have guests talking about different topics so that people who are interested in a multifamily or they're already investors have a place that they can go to for resources.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I'm very curious now because you have such a beautiful background and you know, not the traditional way at all, not conventional. This is like a second career, so you've had to go through a lot of the uphill battles of just kind of staking a place for yourself to be successful in the arena that is already hugely competitive in Southern California. And I'm a big firm believer of learning from mistakes. Can you share maybe one of your learned mistakes from maybe your earlier years in your legal profession that you now apply, or maybe in the, you know, now as a broker? Can you share that?
Yeah, so this one is kind of more like a mental mistake, if that makes sense. Like,
Okay.
I wish I had been gentler on myself. So when I first, when you first start something new, there's a lot of anxiety about, am I doing this right or not? And, I remember at every step, like second guessing myself, going off the rails of, is this the right thing or not? And looking back, I'm like, that was a mistake. I should have reached out to people who could have helped me instead of trying to figure it out all on my own. And I wasted so much mental energy and time,
Mhm.
and was so anxious for no reason that could have been avoided. So when you're starting something new, and if that's kind of the environment you're starting in, it can put you off from pushing
Right.
through and moving forward. So, I feel like I wish I could go back and be like, it's okay, like you'll figure it out, but that's just kind of the type of person that I am. And so I'm not, it's something that I still struggle with, of course.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that learned mistake from early on. And I think you touched on it that we all sometimes we're probably the most critical of ourselves internally, right? No one else
Yeah.
hears our thoughts. So, and thank you for sharing that vulnerability, to just have some compassion, give yourself the grace, and like you said, reach out in areas where you feel like you might have some challenges because maybe others are struggling too. So thank you for sharing that. So now I kind of want to move on to, like, for me, this is the fun round. I get to
Mhm.
have fun asking questions, but I get to put you on the spot. So hopefully
Uh-huh.
you don't mind. So
No, go ahead.
let's jump into this. So what is your favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite place?
Hawaii. I'm dying to go back.
Oh, me too. Favorite food?
Pasta.
Yum. Favorite coffee drink?
Caramel frappuccino
Ooh, from Starbucks?
from Starbucks. You can't have it every day though.
Favorite hobby?
Reading.
So do you like to learn from podcasts, audiobooks, or YouTube?
Podcasts.
And what do you like to do in your spare time aside from reading?
I like spending time with my kids. So, doing like science experiments and baking and all that kind of stuff.
Do your kids like to play in the dirt too?
Yeah, of course.
Do you prefer texting or talking on the phone?
Definitely texting.
And how about, let's shift to, we're all about super women strength, superhero strength. Would you prefer to have the power of being invisible, or would you prefer to have the power of having like that super beyond human strength?
Invisibility.
Are you a cake gal, pie gal, or ice cream gal?
I want to say cake and ice cream together.
Together. What's your favorite combination?
Um, the classic would be like chocolate cake and vanilla ice cream.
Ooh, yummy.
Yeah,
Would you rather cuddle with a panda bear or a baby penguin?
panda bear.
How about, would you rather climb a mountain or jump from an airplane?
Climb a mountain.
All right. And lastly, do you prefer Super Mario Brothers or Zelda?
Super Mario Brothers, definitely.
Yay. I like both, so I'm torn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for that. That was fun. Are there any final words that you want to share with the emerging leaders out there listening who may be unsure of where they're wanting to go in their career path? Maybe they're contemplating on doing a second or third or fourth career change. Any final words?
Yeah, so I would just again say live outside of your comfort zone because that's where growth happens. Take that leap of faith like I did because I'm so much happier. But change, change is always hard, but you kind of have to go through it to to be happy in your life.
And I'm so glad you took the leap of faith because that's how we eventually connected, or the universe had us connect.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for that. So Karen, if anyone wants to reach out to you after this, maybe they might have some questions on your legal profession, or maybe on, your multifamily brokerage profession, where can they find you?
So you can go to my website, which is sigcommercial.com, and you can also email me. So that's Kiran, Kiran, at sigcommercial.com. And I'm
Great.
on LinkedIn too. You can just look me up there as well.
Wonderful. And we'll put your information on our description as well. Well, my time's up here. And thanks so much for joining me today. It's always fun to connect with wonderful women like yourself.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me, Pam.